So, two strategies, two very different strategies used by Democrats when they have been out of power in Congress. And this month, Democrats have been debating which of these strategies to use on a new question, because House Republicans have launched a new select committee to investigate the attacks in Benghazi, which killed 4 Americans, including our ambassador to that country, our ambassador to Libya, in September 2012. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi has been consulting with ranking Democrats on other committees and other Democrats involved in making decisions in the Democratic caucus. She's been talking to the other leadership in the Democratic Party. They've been having an internal debate. And right up until today, it seemed like they were leaning against going along with this committee. For example, here's Congressman Adam Schiff of California. This is fascinating.
You have said that the Benghazi, and you put it, conspiracy theories are a terrible distraction from the real issue, which is bringing the people who killed these 4 Americans to justice. Is this House committee part of that distraction? And how certain are you that Democrats will participate and put, since it's a select partisan committee, will put members on the committee?
Chris, I think it's a colossal waste of time. We've had 4 bipartisan investigations of this already. I don't think it makes sense, really, for Democrats to participate. I think it's just a tremendous red herring and a waste of taxpayer resources.
In this internal debate that Democrats have been having, Congressman Schiff has been on the side that said, boycott the Republicans' Benghazi committee. Call the committee what we think it is, which is a circus and a stunt and a waste of time. Congressman Schiff speaking out there for the boycott strategy over the Elijah Cummings strategy. And while that debate played out inside the Democratic Party, the Democrats have also been negotiating with House Speaker John Boehner about what the committee's going to be like and how it's going to function. Today, Nancy Pelosi announced that those talks with the Speaker were over and that Democrats had made a decision about what to do. And I have to say, I did not see this coming, not like this.
Over the past 2 weeks, we have engaged in good faith discussions with Speaker Boehner on the shape and standards of the Select Committee. We had hoped for a level of fairness and transparency and balance, especially considering the subject matter. We were not able to reach any agreement. Regrettably, the Republican approach does not prevent the unacceptable and repeated abuses committed by Chairman Issa in any meaningful way. That is all the more reason for Democrats to participate in the committee, to be there to fight for fair hearing and process, to try to bring some openness and transparency to what's going on.
I thought she was going somewhere else at the beginning there. But Nancy Pelosi said today that the Democrats have finished negotiating with Republicans about this committee, about how to make it more balanced, more fair. The Democrats got nothing in those negotiations. She says the committee is going to be totally unfair. And she said that is all the more reason that Democrats should participate in it. Because being there, she says, is how they intend to prove that the committee is an unfair, biased disaster. But if the first big surprise is that Nancy Pelosi said her party got bupkis, it's totally unfair, it's going to be a circus, so let's join it. Take a look at the Democrats she picked to occupy the Democrats' 5 seats on the committee. Elijah Cummings gets one of the seats, so the author of the Elijah Cummings strategy will himself be on the panel, but so will the guy who articulated the boycott strategy on Fox News, Adam Schiff, the same California congressman who not only argued that Democrats should not go along with this, but who made that argument on Fox News. Congressman Adam Schiff is now going to be one of the 5 Democrats on this same select committee that he argued Democrats should boycott. This has been a Mr. Toad's wild ride on this subject. Nobody saw any of this coming, most of all me. What happened here? Joining us now is Congressman Adam Schiff from California, one of the 5 Democrats elected to serve on the Benghazi Select Committee. He's also a senior member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Schiff, thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
So you've been vocal multiple times about your opposition to Democrats participating in this Select Committee, and now you are going to be on the committee. How do those two things coexist?
Well, I think what you've seen is we did have that difficult debate that you mentioned, and the caucus was deeply divided. But at the end of the day, we coalesced around the agreement and the strategy that the leader has adopted. And the fact that both Elijah and I are serving on that committee is proof of the fact that our caucus has unified. We were always unified in our opposition to the formation of this committee. We're now unified in the approach we're going to take going forward. And I think part of the reason, Rachel, is this. My concern about the Select Committee is this is where I think they're headed. They are going to subpoena everything under the sun. They're going to subpoena things having no relation whatsoever to Benghazi. They're going to subpoena things they know that are clearly protected by executive privilege. And notwithstanding how many times the administration even waive that privilege, they're going to keep asking because they want to provoke a fight with the administration. They're not interested in the facts, which we really already have. They're interested with the fight with the administration. And ultimately, our leadership concluded that it was important to have people in the room to contest the abuse of that kind of power and process. And I think that's a sensible decision. No matter how divided our caucus was initially, we have come together and we're going to deal with this professionally and responsibly and try to prevent this select committee from degenerating into simply one about talking points.
Are you convinced that you will have the access to information and the tools that you need as minority members of that committee to contest what you are anticipating there? Are you going to have access to information about witnesses, information about what they're subpoenaing, information about what the committee itself is doing, enough to be able to play the role that you just described?
Well, we're certainly going to try. There's no guarantees, and in fact, we couldn't even get commitments from the Speaker to make sure that we would be present when witnesses were interviewed, that we would have any say in what kind of subpoenas or the range of subpoenas that would be issued. But you can expect that if we are denied that kind of due process in this select committee, that we are going to be very vocal about it, and we're going to scream bloody murder about that, and we're going to let the American people know that this is a sham. Now, they keep representing that they want this to be a serious undertaking, but my suspicion, again, is that they simply want to draw out a fight with the administration until Election Day and happily raise money all along the way. And if that's the course they choose, they can expect us to fight them tooth and nail.
Do you see any indications contrary to that among your Republican colleagues who have been chosen to be on the committee? I find it interesting that, as far as I know, and I may be wrong about this, but I think that all of the 7 Republicans who are going to be on the committee are all attorneys. On the Democratic side, everybody's an attorney with the exception of Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, who, of course, is a combat-wounded Iraq veteran. Slouch when it comes to arguing on any subject. Do you see any indication from your colleagues on the other side of the aisle that this might be something in which they'd be willing to work with you in a collegial way? Has there been any sort of outreach, any sort of branch since you've been announced as a member of the committee that maybe your fears here are unfounded?
You know, I wish I could say that was the case. That is certainly the case within the broader Republican conference. You have a lot of Republican members who will tell you privately, look, we think this is a bad idea. We've gone over this ground. In fact, some have said it very publicly. The chairman of the Armed Services Committee said, look, we've gone over and over and over this, and at a certain point you've got to say, when is enough enough? That was the Speaker's position a month ago. So the more moderate, responsible GOP members will say that privately. They are not necessarily the same people that were picked to be on the Select Committee, which was really a way of throwing a bone to the conservative wing of the Republican conference. So look, who can say for sure, but I think the whole reason of forming the Select Committee was not getting at the truth, but rather to placate the base, to fundraise off the base, to motivate the base to turn out at election time, because all the questions that our new chairman of the Select Committee has said he wants answered have in fact already been asked and already been answered.
Congressman Adam Schiff of California, providing actually background and information about how this decision was made that I haven't heard anywhere else. That's very helpful in understanding what you're doing, but I think also giving us a taste of what these fights are going to be like from here on out. Thanks for helping us understand tonight, sir. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, a lot more still to come tonight. Stay with us.